Wait, internet. Hang on. Ugh. Somehow, I always forget. To wire up the computer. Even though I desperately need it for streaming. Okay, let's get that music rolling. There. Okay, there we go. Gotta make my required social media posts. All right, posted there. And posted there. Okay, that's all good. And I'll share this in some other spots too. Okay. All right, it's 3, time to get started. I have to turn this down a little bit on my end. There. Okay. Let's get started. Oh, wait, wrong panel. This one. Right? No, not that one. This one. All right. Trying to think what colors I want this to be. Yeah, I think that should be good. And then we'll do actually a lighter color for the rocks. force feels a little too dark. Let's change that up a little bit. Okay, we got that for it now. Hello, Dart. Welcome. Welcome back. It's kind of harsh. Let's see. So, anyone else read today's latest chapter of Dawn to Dawn? It was kind of just an in-between chapter to let us settle down after the recent fight scenes. But the stakes are rising. I'm very concerned for Momo. Reading a series week to week like that is so hard. Because you get so pumped for the next chapter and then it's over already and it's like, come on. Well, I guess that's how they keep you coming back, how they keep you paying for that Jump subscription. Although, honestly, the Jump's online subscription service is kind of one of the better ones I've been exposed to as of late. Because, it's $2 a month. And you get access to their entire digital catalog. And then if you want to, say, buy a whole volume of the manga to keep permanently on your phone, that costs extra. But, $2 a month for digital access, honestly, that's kind of sweet. I mean, it's better than freaking $15 a month for the Netflix catalog. Which only has, some of the content, and things are region-locked and bullshit. Ugh. At least with the Jump subscription, they'll give you everything they've got to offer. And you can download chapters with the $2 a month subscription too. Shading. Rocks are very difficult. Pretty sure that's how comic enthusiasts in the physical ages felt, except it was harder because you had to find a store that even sold it. True. True. Though I remember, I think superhero comics only came out like once a month, didn't they? And they're honestly, I think they're shorter than some issues in Jump are. I mean, at least on average, the Dawn to Dawn updates have been like close to 30 pages a piece, and I think like American comics are only like 15 to 20-ish. But yeah, I can't imagine like being a fan back when everything was physical media. Although I would imagine I would just be an American comic fan, because I don't think you could get access to Japanese comics anywhere. This feels off-kilter a little bit. Hang on. I guess the only time you really could be an anime fan is in the digital age. Finding Japanese things was a pain in the ass up to about 15 years ago. Yeah. Still remember watching Ultimate Muscle at a furniture store that doesn't exist anymore. Ah, those are the real memories, you know. All the more precious because of how fleeting they are. Yeah, I think my first taste of existential dread probably came when, like, you know, a store that had just always been in my town closed down for the first time. And, you know, I'd never experienced that before. And then just sort of suddenly hit me that, like, yeah, that's probably going to happen to a lot of the things I'm familiar with. It hurts even worse when you come back from, like, being away at college or something and everything is so different. So I assume everyone heard the news that the Pope passed away. Like, during Easter. That's wild. There's something, like, I don't know, morbidly poetic about a Pope dying on Easter. Sounds like a... Sounds like a bad comedian's joke. The worst is what happens to a food spot you frequent. All the good Chinese spots here are gone. Ooh, that sucks. There's this Chinese food place, like, down the block from where I live that's literally called OK Chinese Food. I went there with a friend once. We ate it, and it was definitely just okay. Like, to the point where I don't think I'm going back there to order again. But yeah, like, a place that you ate at all the time closing down is rough. Like, I used to really like, Quiznos subs, and we had one, like, right next to our house. So I used to ask for that, like, all the time, and, you know, it got to the point where the freaking Quiznos employees recognized my dad when he walked in. They, like, knew my order by heart. And then it just closed down one day and got replaced with a Subway, which I think is a much inferior sandwich shop chain. I was very mad. I refused to eat at that Subway for a very long time because of that. But yeah, I was friggin' heartbroken when I saw that the Quiznos was closing. Christ's return demanded a blood sacrifice. But that was what he sacrificed himself to stop from happening. There weren't supposed to be any more sacrifices. His was the ultimate sacrifice. I guess he was hungry for more still. It honestly just made me think about that one South Park episode where Randy, like, gets involved in this big conspiracy, and it turns out that the Pope is supposed to be a rabbit. That one was pretty funny, because, like, you don't see shows do, like, Easter specials often. It's, like, kind of... It's one of those kind of weird holidays. Because despite the fact that I don't think most people associate Easter with a lot of very Christian imagery, it's probably the most overtly Christian holiday left on the calendar. Like, Christmas, while I suppose technically being more important, has very much been, I forget what the word is for, non-Christian folk. Secularized. You know, there's so many elements to Christmas that you don't even have to talk about the religious aspects, if you don't want to. But Easter is just, like, so explicitly religious in that regard. I guess it's because the only real traditions are going to church and eating candy. That's all you do on Easter. I do remember watching, I I used to watch the Rankin Bass Peter Cottontail movie, which I think is one of their lesser known products. And then I also used to watch the freaking Winnie the Pooh Easter special a lot. Which is another one that I don't know if most people are aware of, that there was a friggin' Winnie the Pooh Easter movie. But it was funny, because it's a Wonderful Life parody. Just set during Easter. It's like, Rabbit tries so hard to set up a good Easter celebration, and he feels underappreciated. So he ends up wishing that everybody in the 100-Acre Wood would just leave him alone. And then he, gets... I don't remember exactly what happens in that moment, but he gets whisked into, this future realm where everybody in the 100-Acre Wood moved away except for him. And it's honestly kind of, tragic and upsetting, because a good chunk of the movie is him, going to everyone's houses, and they're just, empty and dusty and full of cobwebs, and they've left, only a few stray little items behind. It feels so, post-apocalyptic in a way. It feels like everyone's dead. And it's like, Jesus Christ, Winnie the Pooh. This is for, preschool kids. Can you stop? Oh, it's a Christmas Carol parody. Really? I don't remember there being ghosts in that one. I can't believe that Okami's anniversary, Easter, and 420 all happen on the same day. You can add the Pope's death to that counter there, Jack. Yes, we don't talk about the other 420 anniversaries. Those things aren't worth celebrating. Anyways, I didn't catch that it was a Christmas Carol parody. I don't remember there being, ghosts. Then again, it's been a long time since I saw that movie, man. It was, when we were, middle schoolers. Perhaps even younger than that. I don't even remember the last time I saw that movie. It was probably in a car ride to Grandpa's house or something. Like most of my movie watching experiences back then. It was all the narrator acting as... Oh, right! The narrator talked to Rabbit. You're right. I forgot that part. That's crazy. Anyway, happy Okami anniversary, I guess. It's a shame I'm not drawing dogs. Honestly, I probably should do a drawing stream at some point that's not for the webcomic, but it's just such a good time to get some work done, I just have 2 dedicated hours blocked out in my day to just sit down and work on this thing. Man, my shoulders really hurt today. Last full South Park episode I remember watching was tap dancing when it was on TV. Oh, I remember tap dancing. Honestly, any Butters episode is kind of a highlight. Even though they keep doing the worst shit to him. I think Matt and Trey said in an interview once that there's just something about, like, torturing Butters. Probably because he never lets it get him down anyway. But yeah, the tap dancing episode was, like, legitimately horrifying. I was kind of traumatized as well. And I saw that as an adult. I will say that the current situation with being able to stream South Park is kind of frustrating, because, like, the show itself is on HBO, but then all the specials are on Paramount. It's like, God, I really want to watch the specials, but having to buy another streaming service for that? Eh. This is why piracy is on the rise, you know? Because it's so much easier to pay for the streaming service you use the most and just pirate everything else. I still haven't gotten to see their, like, Ozempic special, which I really want to, because I'm sure that's going to be funny as hell. Given that they have Resident Fat Man Cartman as one of the main characters. Big brain strats, just don't watch anything. Unfortunately, I like storytelling. I like stories, I like movies and TV. Although I have been reading more manga lately than watching any actual shows. Just slurp that shit up straight from the source. That does remind me, I still haven't finished watching, The X-Files, which I have been enjoying quite a bit. It's just, man, there's so many episodes of that show. I didn't realize how long-running it was. It's like 11 seasons of content on Hulu, and I'm like, what? But it's fun, honestly. I don't watch a lot of sci-fi. It's kind of got some Doctor Who vibes in it, I guess. Except they're not afraid to shoot things in that in that series. Doctor's all like, I never use guns. Don't ever use guns. And meanwhile, Mulder and Scully, bang, 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 shooting them aliens in the head. I've also been enjoying Far Cry 5 a lot. I honestly really like the rural Americana, you know, Midwestern kitsch look. It's fun to run around in there, and, you know, it's... The American rural areas are places with big personality. I don't think anyone who's lived or visited there can attest to that, you know? So it's kind of fun to run around in that space, and it actually feels totally natural to be, like, stacked with firearms while you're doing it. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, if there was ever a setting in America where you could see a Far Cry game happening, it's probably somewhere in the Midwest. I just got the Panther added to my roster, which having a friggin' like Panther as one of your like assistance team members is crazy. But very fun. She's honestly a lot stronger than the dog is. Like, she keeps killing things super quickly. I don't know, the dog didn't get that many kills off. He kind of just stood around for the most part. I do kind of wish you could rename the animal characters, because, like, I get it. They had a life before you, you know, they're... The community knows these animals, as strange as it is to say. They've already named them. But, I don't know, I don't really like the name Peaches for my panther. I mean, it makes sense. It sounds like what a crazy Midwestern lady would call a pet panther, but you know. I would have also enjoyed the ability to rename them. heard the Netflix DMC anime made fans mad. Yes, from what I can tell. No one's really in character in that series. You know, like, Dante doesn't act like Dante. Lady doesn't act like Lady. So everybody's kind of just, like, pissed about that. Which, you know, it's always been kind of dumb to me why people would want to change the original character's characterizations like that. Because it's like, you know, the characters are kind of the reason people like this shit in the first place. So if there was anything you'd probably want to keep the same, it'd be that. But I don't know, people look at these projects and they're like, oh, but the characters are so crude and inappropriate and not, you know, it's socially polite, because for some reason everybody's got to be socially polite these days. I don't know. So they're like, oh, we're going to change it to show people how they should be acting. And it's like, I mean, I don't think people were coming to Devil May Cry, you know, as a moral tale to teach them how to act in society. I did find all the compilations of Lady cursing to be incredibly funny. Just because, like, she does it so friggin' much in that show, and it's like, wow. At some point, this, like, stops being funny, like, at all. And it's just, like, gratuitous and stupid. Like, when she's dropping F-bombs in, like, every other word, it's like, come on, guys. I hope to God he doesn't do a Blaze Blue adaptation. For your sake, I hope, too. They marketed the dog to be much more useful, but since Far Cry 5 isn't as much of a survival game, having him grab you a gun is super useless because yours are more likely better. Yeah. To jump back to Far Cry 5 for a sec, it makes me curious what the bear is going to play like. Oh, it's gonna be a little while before we get there. We still gotta deal with Faith. I'm enjoying Far Cry 5 so much, I've been listening to the soundtrack outside of playing the game. Which is, like, wild. Oh. Hit the friggin' ruler button. Hang on. Show ruler off. There. Now it's not doing that weird purple border bullshit. Okay. Keep going, videos. YouTube was like, "Are you done watching this?" It's like, "No." Keep playing it, please. I need the background music. Kim's gonna join the cult. No, I am dismantling it. I'll have you know. I will not stand for such slander. They do have some kick-ass music, though. I'm gonna be real. If there's one thing propagandists know, it's the power of a sweet banger. Alright, gotta do these trees. Trees. Couldn't remember what layer I was on. Gotta take down the Sneeds. Honestly, the truth of it is, those guys are pretty sacrilegious. I mean, their leader calls himself the Father. That's like a title reserved for God. They're like that story of the Hebrews worshiping the golden calf, which is a really funny story to me. It always has been, because, like, the context is that, like, Moses goes up the mountain to receive the 10 Commandments, and somehow, within the time it takes for him to climb up to the mountain and back down, they've built a calf statue out of gold and have started worshiping it as a god. And I'm like, guys, he was gone for, like, a day max. How did you do this? How did you, like, already fall out of faith with your religion? It's been a day. I think that Moses was so upset. If I'm remembering the story correctly, he, like, broke the original tablets and he had to go up the mountain to get new ones. Aren't some pastors referred to as Father? Yes, Father, but not the Father. The Father is God, you know? Anything with a "the" in the title is probably referring to the big man upstairs, and therefore, you probably shouldn't be using it. I guess the way to think of it is that, like, priests are a father, but God is the Father. And the fact that Joseph is calling himself the Father, you know, it's kind of putting him on a comparable level to the Lord. Which I think, as most people know, is breaking commandment number 1. And honestly, it definitely seems like his cult is using him as a replacement for God, because, like, I don't hear them talking about the Lord or Christ unless it's to try to, like, scare people into thinking the end is coming. So, honestly, he doesn't really seem to be pushing anyone to, you know, actual forms of worship. All I'm saying is I don't think the Vatican is happy with the Sneeds. For more reasons than just, you know, the pillaging and plundering and murder. Although, you know, obviously that is a big concern as well. I remember last year I was trying to finish Bleach so I could get around to watching the 1,000-Year Blood War, but I never actually did that. It's just, man, it got so boring towards the end. Bleach was like my favorite anime when I was a kid, and I watched all the way up to the Aizen arc, like the final confrontation with Aizen. You know, where like Kamakura's like being held hostage by him, and Ichigo's gotta do like his final, you know, his final fight basically, but like the pacing for it was so plodding and slow, and it kept getting interrupted with these filler seasons that eventually I just like, I'm bored, I'm gonna watch something else, and I just never finished Bleach. And when I heard that they were finally doing the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, I was like, oh, maybe this is a good time to go back and finish the rest of the series, but it's so boring. I just can't bring myself to do it, man. Especially when there's like plenty of brand new series out that I could be watching instead. I was also kind of mad that, spoiler alert, Ichigo doesn't get with Rukia at the end. I was very mad about that. So I was like, maybe I don't want to finish the series, actually. You know, congrats to all the Orihime fans out there. I know you guys are happy. Great for you. I'm just feeling a little hurt, you know? My 2010s child heart is feeling hurt. What am I referring to? Do you mean the Bleach stuff? I'm afraid you're gonna have to specify, Jack. I've talked about quite a few things since I last looked at the chat, unfortunately. I mean, usually trying to forcibly watch something for the sake of seeing the next part of it rather than genuine interest will usually do that. I mean, I am interested in finishing Bleach, because, you know, I like the baseline of the story. I think it's cool and has a lot of fun concepts. The filler, it just, like, really drains my enthusiasm for the rest of it. You know? The stuff I really want to see keeps getting delayed because, you know, the manga couldn't keep up with the studio's pacing. So they'd catch up and run out of shit to animate. That was a problem for a lot of series back when I was a kid, though. I think I much prefer the modern methods, which seem to be allowing the anime to go on hiatus until the manga can release, you know, enough new chapters that they can craft a good season out of it. You know, like, as much as I was chafing at the like, I don't know, like, 9-month break between season 1 and season 2 of Dandadan, like, you know, those months in between the seasons will allow the mangaka to produce more chapters, and therefore they'll have more content to do later seasons with, so they won't be catching up super quickly. playlist I found has just been all over the place with music. Not that I mind, it's nice to have some variety. I remember another thing shows would do sometimes is if they ran out of content, they would kind of just wing it and go for their own ending. Like with they did it with both Soul Eater and the first run of Full Metal Alchemist. Which, you know, has its positives and its negatives, because, like, on the one hand, you know, at least they're not having to completely kill the pacing and flow of the story like they do with filler arcs and things, but also, like, I don't know, studios don't always have the best track record of writing original endings to something they didn't produce. Though there are some elements I kind of still appreciate about the original Full Metal Alchemist ending. Mostly in a sense of it kind of fits the pretty bleak tone the series starts with. Not to say that Brotherhood doesn't, but, you know, they get their nice happy ending in the end, which is great. You know, love seeing those characters happy. At the same time, it does feel a little, different from how the series really began. And while the original FMA's ending was really sad and pretty heartbreaking, it also felt appropriate, for lack of a better word. Like, it made sense for the kind of story that Full Metal Alchemist was, for it to end like that. Although I definitely think the stuff about them dimension traveling to World War II Germany was kind of a lot. That was definitely a part of the reveal that I was like, what? I'm sorry? Not only do they get transported to our world, but it's our world with, you know, the guys YouTube doesn't like in power. That's what happened to Blue Exorcist as well. Yes, I remember you talking about that. So yeah, the original anime endings could be kind of a mixed bag, which is why I'm kind of glad they don't really do that anymore. Come on, computer, don't start lagging on me now. I'm gonna move this down here. Gonna do a little bit of simulated camera stuff here. There. Oh, look at the time. I'm overdue for my break. Alright. Let me set up a nice BRB screen here. I gotta get around to, like, actually drawing some stuff for this stream. BRB. Alright. I'm gonna take a quick 5-minute break. I'll leave you guys here with the music running, and I'll see you shortly. Alright, we're back. Whew. Okay. Let's hammer away and try to get the rest of these done. I'm trying to think of something to talk about. Oh yeah, I've been watching a lot more videos of people being critical of superhero stuff. And honestly, they're pretty funny. Critique is kind of one of those funny things, because oftentimes, what I find happens at least, is that, you know, something strikes you as being bad, but you can't quite vocalize what's wrong with it, you know? Your brain's just telling you that the thing that you watched was bad. But you can't really be any more coherent than that. And it makes it kind of hard to defend your points, especially if, like, everybody else thought it was really good. Sometimes you need to, like, watch somebody else take a crack at it, and then when they start sort of dissecting, you know, the story structure and the decision-making by characters in the film, you're suddenly like, oh, that's why it was bad, because that shit didn't make any sense. And it's actually been really fun watching them break down, like, why the newer Marvel stuff has been a lot worse than the earlier Marvel stuff, and a lot of it is just because they're not consistent with their characters' decision-making anymore, you know? I've seen some people try to clap back against these critiques by saying, well, they're writing real people, you know, and real people don't always make the smartest decision. When the truth is, it's not about making the smartest decision, it's about making the decision that that character would reasonably make. And what, you know, these reviewers point out a lot of the times is that they've already established that these characters would not make these kinds of decisions because they've avoided falling into these pit holes in previous installments. But now in later installments, all that, like, foresight and effort and thought that the characters put into their decision-making is just thrown out the window because the writers need something specific to happen, but they can't figure out how to make it work without the characters making a very out-of-character decision. So really, the issue's not the fact that, oh, they're not, like, the highest intelligent-brained people in the world, it's that the character writing is inconsistent. They're not being written at the level of intelligence they were already established to have had. And that's definitely one of those things that I think would be difficult for most people to be able to vocalize as to why that's off-putting to them. You know, because that can be, like, a hard thing to, like, analyze and come to the conclusion that that's the problem here. Like, inconsistencies in character decision-making? Really? But it's like, yeah, that's actually really important. You know, oftentimes in stories, it's really the little things that come together to make the whole story work. Fox has seen some shit. This one's not the fox, this one's a cat. Although she does have really big ears, so I can see why that, you know, it would look like that. Yeah, for some reason these pupils just don't look quite right. Hang on. Okay, I think that looks better. But yeah, she's seen a lot of shit tonight. And the night's not over yet either. Woo! But yeah, I've been enjoying watching these critical reviews, I think because it's given me more words to articulate when I have a problem with a film, because I'm not really much of a superhero person. I don't care too much about how well or how poorly the Marvel or DC films are doing. But it's been a good resource for, you know, learning ways to properly articulate critiques, you know, just in general, no matter what you're watching. And it's also good to kind of get away from the mindset of, well, no, just because you're criticizing things doesn't mean you're a Debbie Downer. And it also doesn't mean that you're trying to, like, poo-poo on the parade of everybody who does like these things. You know, there's ways that you can express your critical problems with something, and it doesn't have to mean, you know, anything else to anybody, to anyone else. You know, it's like learning the most effective way to express your opinion, I guess, is a good way to put it, you know. And the fact that being, you know, somebody who makes these critiques doesn't make you a mindless hater, because that's another return criticism a lot of these kinds of videos can get. It's like, oh, you're just here to, like, hate on things because they're popular, because that's what you want to do. When a lot of these people are like, no, I'm a huge Marvel fan, I love a ton of stuff from these creators, you know, whether it's old comics or video games or TV shows or movies. They love this stuff, and they want to like superhero content. They want it to be good. It's just not right now. Like having a character whose gimmick is to blow everything up. Suddenly he doesn't when time calls for it. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't help but feel like there's a lot of people in the writer's chair these days who just actually aren't that good at writing. And for one reason or another, they've never really had to improve. So, like, they don't understand things like, hey, if you write yourself into a corner, the solution isn't to continue writing with what you already have. The solution is to go back and revise what you've written so far so that you don't end up in that corner in the first place. Like, the corner is a trap of the writer's own making. And they can undo it anytime they want. They just have to use this thing called the backspace key. But a lot of them just don't, for whatever reason. They're like, oh, what's on the paper? I can't change it now. It's on there forever. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be. You're in control here. Ooh, I have to merge all these things together. This is honestly one thing I'm less happy about with how Clip Studio works. Oh. Fucked it up. Because if you want to apply a filter, you can't apply it to multiple layers at the same time. You can only apply it to a single layer at a time. And I don't want to go through every single one of these layers and do that. Oh, I forgot about this one. So what I end up having to do is just crunch my images down onto a single layer. And then throwing the gradient on that way. No, I'll at least keep these ones slightly separate. There. There. Alright, that's those two done. Ugh, quick stretch. This one. Big group shots, the bane of my existence. And they land pretty high-file positions, like Borderlands. Yeah, that's also very weird to me. These people will write notably bad products and then they'll keep getting jobs afterwards. It's like, what is going on? I mean, I can understand maybe giving someone, like, a second chance if something they're on just happens to be a flop. But when it's this consistent, I don't know, man. I feel like something's gotta give at some point, you know? When are you gonna give up on these people? I mean, it sounds cruel, but, like, if you can't do the job, you can't do the job. At some point, these studios are really just, like, sacrificing their businesses for these people, which is so odd to me. Because, like, they're so against bringing in new talent for some reason, but they'll keep hiring on these same people who make bad films. My favorite was watching critiques at Star Wars shittiest era, which we're still in. Probably I haven't kept up. Roughly a few years ago when they bloated it up with garbage that didn't need to exist. Yeah, man, all the Star Wars content Disney was pushing out after a while, it was like, okay. That, you can stop now, that's enough. But they were like, no, more Star Wars, and it's like the worst Star Wars you've ever seen. I think we're probably still in that era. Like, from what I can tell, they released one good project for every 5 bad projects, which isn't a good track record. I remember, I forget what the movie is called. Andor? The show about the Star Wars prison. That one people really liked. They said the writing in that one was really good. And I also remember I really liked the animated shorts they released, but, you know, I also have a bias towards animation, so that may not have been everyone else in the Star Wars fandom's cup of tea. I'm also not that big in Star Wars in general, so I don't exactly have my ear to the ground in all these cases. But the critiques of things like, you know, the really bad video games, the critiques of Acolyte, the critiques of the Kenobi TV show, the critiques of the Ahsoka TV show, that was all really good content to have playing while I was, like, drawing something. Yeah, there's just, like, so much of it for a period of time. Also, did you guys hear about Disney's, like, disaster Star Wars getaway experience? They made this, like, you know, high-end resort where the entire premise of it was that you go there to, like, get a Star Wars experience or whatever. Like, something more immersive and game-like than a normal Disney resort stay. And it costs, like, an arm and a leg for, like, 2 nights. Crazy shit like that. And then people started going, and it turns out that, like, half the shit that they had for the experiences didn't work. Like, each room had some kind of a droid assistant on, like, an iPad that could do things like, you know, arrange room service for you and things like that, and they just didn't work. Mandalorian was going to be great until they ditched the man himself for that sweet, sweet toy marketing. I remember there was a big thing that happened with the director of that series. She got, like, fired for undisclosed but probably bullshit reasons. It was something like that. And she's actually trying to sue Disney right now, which I have no idea if her complaints are even valid or anything. But, like, I honestly wasn't too surprised when I heard the quality of the show had started to go downhill after that. Because, you know, oftentimes when, not to give directors credit for everything, because not every director is, like, a good director, and not every director is the reason why a film is well made. But the directors are essentially leaders of the team. So when the team leader goes down, I'm not surprised that the rest of the team starts to suffer for it. Generally speaking, a well-made production is usually a sign of they have a good leader on deck. You know, not always, but most of the time. So yeah, it wasn't a huge surprise to me when Mando's quality started to fade. And I'm sure, you know, their obsession with Baby Grogu merch also had a hand in that, possibly. You know, because if they're the one thing that Disney wants to do before everything else is sell you stuff. And that's like their modus operandi number 1. Which, you know, the argument could be made, well, they're a company, of course they're supposed to do that. But the thing is that they're focused on making money with things that aren't their actual product that they're selling. Because, like, when you think of Disney as a company and you think, well, what are Disney supposed to sell? Or what do you think about Disney trying to sell you? Your first thought should be, well, they're selling me movies. They're selling me TV shows. They're selling me stories and content and art. But they're not anymore. They're trying to sell you toys and merchandise and theme park tickets. They're focusing on the products that aren't the main draw of people coming to the studio in the first place. Like, people buy the merch because they like the films. So if you're slacking on your films and your films are bad, people aren't gonna keep buying the merch. One of the reasons why people liked Baby Grogu merch and Mandalorian stuff was because The Mandalorian was a good show. And I can guarantee you sales plummeted after people stopped liking it. That resort was $4,800 for 2 people. Yeah, it was like crazy price point like that. And it's like, okay, well, pretty much every family household is out on, you know, that alone. And there's no way your average middle-class family is affording something like that, especially not in this day and age, you know. That stuff is just to be sold to, like, influencers and mega Disney fans with tons of disposable income. And you know what? They had to shut it down because nobody was buying it. Sometimes it feels like Disney wants to become a luxury goods company. You know, like those designer fashion brands. They want to become the media version of Prada or Gucci. Which I think you can also see from all of the actual, like, high-end brand crossovers that they do all the time. That's what they want. They want to become, you know, a brand that, like, rich people spend their money on. But that's a difficult niche to exist in. Especially when all your previous money-making endeavors have been focused around, you know, the family. Newsflash, but families don't usually have that kind of money. Not unless it's a celebrity family, which is a very rare percentage of the population. You can't really build a thriving economy based off of that. Like, designer brands, like clothing brands, they don't target families. They target young individuals who have that kind of disposable wealth, because guess what? They don't have kids. It's advertised to young adults. People who, you know, have their whole working lives ahead of them, who are either just starting to or have already gotten their first decent paychecks. And who, of course, don't have dependents, who need that money for things like clothes and food. Estimated to have built for just short of $1 billion and only survived a year. Big waste of time and money. And you know what? I bet they didn't learn a damn thing from that. A part of me also feels bad for the cast members. Like, I imagine it's gotta be exciting to get hired on to act as a character that you love from a series you enjoy. Only for Disney to, like, completely mishandle the project and now suddenly you're out of a job again. Unfortunate and upsetting. of reminds me of when I went to Disneyland and I went to the Star Wars area and I saw that they had a little build your own droid thing where you could build like a remote controlled RC droid that you could drive around, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, I would love to get one of those. And it's like $100 to build a droid, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, for a hunk of plastic I'm gonna play with for a day and then forget about? No, thank you. I saw like all those families in there with their little kids building droids, and I felt so bad for them because I was like, man, those kids aren't gonna play with that for very long. An unfortunate truth. As Al Gore would say, a downright inconvenient truth. Like, man, you can buy an RC car in the store for like maybe $50 if you want like a really good one, you know. Hell, for $100 you could buy your kid a drone. A little remote controlled drone they could fly around, probably. I'm gonna guess you also saw Defunct Land's Nickelodeon Resort video? Yeah! I did see that. Defunct Land is really good. I love going to that guy for all of my theme park related news and information. Honestly, it's kind of an eye-opener because you're like, oh my god, Walt Disney was an insane person. Which, like, you know, hot take, I still love Walt. As, like, an artist, I find him to be very inspirational. But also, Mans was insane. Of course, I don't think you could do half the stuff that he did without being crazy, to some extent, at least. But the story of how he started Disneyland was incredibly funny, because it's like, bro took the strikes, his worker strikes, really personally. And he withdrew from his studio, became depressed, got obsessed with model trains, and then decided he was gonna build like a life-size one that people could run around in. And that was the initial idea that would eventually balloon out into Disneyland. And it's like, Christ. Bro really did replace therapy with trains. The Nickelodeon Resort video was good too. Honestly, because it just really kind of showed how underprepared they were for everything. It's sad and also hilarious watching the general quality of a place start to go down over the years. Like, a resort or a theme park will open and it'll start with all of this, like, cool, fancy shit. And then, like, over the years, they just start taking away more and more and more and more of it until it's like, why am I paying exorbitant prices for this anyway? None of the actual, like, luxury items are here at all. At some point, it's like, what am I even paying for? That's why I've been watching this one other YouTube's videos, too, because that's exactly what he does. He reviews luxury resorts and theme parks and hotels. Basically, any sort of experience that, you know, labels itself as luxury. And it's usually, like, hotel stays and cruises that he looks at. But anything that sort of, you know, classifies itself as a luxury experience, he'll be like, okay, let's test that. And so many times he's like, yeah, this experience was like really disappointing for what I paid for. I really don't think it should be calling itself a luxury. Just straight up telling you that this is not worth the money. I watched a recent episode where he went to that Egypt theme hotel in God, why am I blanking on what that place is called? Las Vegas. Yeah, he went to the Egyptian themed hotel in Las Vegas and he stayed there and he was like, wow, this is really bad. It is kind of a shame what's been happening with the Disney parks, though, just because, man, Disney was like the mecca as a child, you know? Like, I would have daydreams about getting to go to Disney World. Because, you know, even back then, when it was considered more affordable, it was still a pretty pricey experience, all things considered. It was something that we as a family only ever did, like, a handful of times throughout my life, and it was only ever when there was like a whole bunch of us. Like, it would have to be the whole extended family. We never did just an immediate family Disney trip, you know? But, you know, I loved the Disney movies as a kid, so of course it was like magic getting to go there and see everything brought to life in person. And now to know that, like, the quality of the parks has been so ruined that the magic can't even bring people in anymore is very sad. Oh, I need to stretch again. Oh, man, I might not get these last two done before calling it quits, but that's fine. Did a lot of them today. The rest can wait. I'm decently ahead schedule with this one. To bring these... No, wrong layer. Bring these down a little bit. Yeah, because that one cat is floating. Don't want that. Don't want floating cats. I know you think you do, but you don't want floating cats. Trust me. Oh. There. Ooh, one of my friends is playing Metaphor Refantasio. I still haven't finished that game. I gotta get around to it. I got decently far into it, but then, other things came into my life that I wanted to play a little bit more. It was good, though. Coming up with some cat patterns on the fly here. I really like that one pattern. I forget what it's called, but it's like when the tabby pattern is constrained to only the colored parts on the cat. Only magic here is vanishing attendance numbers. Exactly. And then Disney's like, why do we have no money? And it's like, your fans are gone. They're going to Universal instead. Which, side note, Universal did like a huge update to their parks, and now I really want to go to the one in Orlando. Because, like, the Hollywood Park is friggin' tiny. Which, like, I get. They don't have as much space over here. You know, it's also an active, movie studio. But, you know, because of that, there's only so many times I can go to that park. Like, I've been there several times within the last year alone, and I'm like, okay, I'm a little tired of this. I am excited for the new Fast and Furious coaster to get finished. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. A friend of mine mentioned that they were saying it's going to be the West Coast Park equivalent to the Velocicoaster over in Orlando. Which is exciting to hear, because I heard that coaster is good. And fast. Very fast. Oop, gotta sneeze. Woo. I love tortoiseshells. They're so much fun. Usually got really pretty coat patterns too. Alright, let's see if I can finish this up within 3 minutes. Coaster, sure. I don't know about any of those friggin' movies, though. I haven't seen a Fast and Furious movie before. I have absolutely no idea what the quality of those films are like. I do know that it's all about family meme. Ooh, my stomach growled. It's time to eat something. Not yet, stomach. We must finish this fight. I guess I shouldn't be surprised I didn't get to all the panels I wanted today. These ones are a lot more background intensive than the ones from last week. They were cheesy as shit for the first three and just descended into straight up uninteresting. Ah, dang. That's a shame. Although, speaking of Fast and Furious, I watched a video about somebody talking about the Black Adam movies, which also has The Rock in them. And apparently, guy put some, like, kind of funny shit in his acting contracts. Where there's, like, clauses that his characters, you know, have to come out of their fights on top. Like, they can't get the last word. The bad guys can't get the last word in on their characters. And it's like, well, that's just dumb. I mean, you're limiting the kind of stories they can write you into with that. And I think a part of that kind of opens up why I don't find films with The Rock in it all that interesting. It's that there's no stakes when he's involved. All of the films that he's in, it's just kind of, yeah, I know what's gonna happen. Or, like, it's, you know, it's, like, nothing really too bad is ever threatened on the guy's characters, and it's like, yeah, okay. I don't believe that this man is in any danger at all. I think one of the weirdest films I saw The Rock in, I don't know, it's kind of a tie between the Jumanji remake, which I didn't think was that good, and, like, that one, I forget what it was called, like, Primal or something, but the one where he's, like, got a friend who's this giant albino gorilla. Something like that. I remember seeing the trailer for that movie, and I was like, why did they make this? I guess it was based off a comic book or something? I don't know. It seemed kind of weird to me. Okay, last panel is finished. Alright, it's 5:02. I think it's time for me to call it quits here. Dwayne Johnson is just the death of the billing for anything. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna call it there for today. Thank you all so much for joining me as we work on yet another portion of this next comic update. If you guys want to read the webcomic that this is part of, I've got a link to that in the description of this live stream down below. And if you want to see more stuff from me, I do gaming streams on Saturday. This Saturday you can find me here on this channel. I'm going to be continuing my current playthrough of Okami. Next Saturday, so I alternate Saturdays. Every other Saturday, I'm with my friend the Violet Howler on his channel doing Kingdom Hearts streams. So next Saturday, we're going to be starting a playthrough of Chain of Memories. So if you guys want to catch me for that, I should have a link to his channel down there as well. Subscribe to both, just so you can stay up to date on things and see more content from me. I might be back next Monday. Not certain on that. I might be starting a new job soon, in which case my schedule is probably going to have to change. But I'll keep you guys abreast of that when it happens. So,